Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. So in this video I'm going to be going over all of the Blu-rays and 4K movies that I've picked up over the month of July, and although we haven't come to the end of August quite left, time of recording this, we've got about 2 weeks left of the month. I'm going to include everything I've picked up to August in this point. So yeah, there's going to be I think roughly over 100 titles this month. I've absolutely had a blast this month picking up movies, watching movies again. Everything I've watched this month has pretty much been a new title for me, a first time watch, and I've just had an absolute blast. Really enjoyed it. Some great comedies, some great horror films that I've seen for the first time, and I just want to share those titles with you guys. You may have seen some of these movies before. I've just been late to the party with a lot of them, I guess. But yeah, really enjoyed them and wanted to talk with you about them. So yeah, I want to give a little bit of an update as well. I've had some time away from YouTube, which I have, in all honesty, been enjoying. Watching movies, talking about movies, doing live streams as well with Keith and Nige. Watch-alongs, we've had an absolute blast. Watching movies together, making each other laugh. It's been a great time. But yeah, I'm doing this video because I think I've accumulated a fair amount of titles, and I just want to talk with you about them. And yeah, it's just going to be a fun time, I hope. So yeah, this video isn't me completely coming back to YouTube yet. I'm going to have a lot on over the next couple of months, which is going to, it's prime my time away from YouTube. I'm in the early stages of selling a house at the moment, and there's some refurb to be done, some maintenance there, which is going to eat up a hell of a lot of my time. So I don't know when I'm going to be coming back fully to doing videos on a more regular occurrence. So this is just a bit of a stopgate video. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but stick with it. There's a lot of titles to get through. Yeah, so hopefully you enjoy it. So yeah, I've been watching other YouTubers as well. I'm going to leave a full list of who I've been watching down below. Some new channels, some older ones. Great to see some faces back as well. And again, just been having an absolute blast. Picked up a lot of movie recommendations from these guys, so a big thank you to those people. I'll probably mention a couple of names as I go on through the video as well, but it's probably going to be a long video, but I've heard that you guys like long videos, so hopefully you enjoy this one. And yeah, that being said, I'm going to get straight into it. So yeah, the first thing I want to talk about is actually a gift that was sent to me by Carlos over at Eastwood, Fan for Life. Leave a link to his channel down below. So Carlos very kindly sent me this absolutely amazing DVD box set, and it is the Laurel and Hardy collection. So yeah, I was on a live stream with Carlos, and I mentioned that I'd never ever seen a Laurel and Hardy film before in my life. Obviously, I knew of them growing up, but I'd never ever seen a full movie from them. So Carlos has very kindly, by surprise as well, sent me this massive, stunning box set, which I cannot wait to get tucked into. And yeah, he's done me a massive favour here, because Laurel and Hardy for me is, like I said, it's an absolute blind spot for me when it comes to cinema. I think this and sort of a lot of the Hammer horror films for me are probably my two weakest areas, definitely. But Carlos has very much rectified the Laurel and Hardy blind spot for me. So again, a massive thank you to Carlos for sending this over to me. So heading on with the Blu-rays now, and yeah, like I said, this is a massive collection of Blu-rays that I managed to pick up this month. So much so now that my film collection has actually exceeded 6,000 titles, and it's on the way to 7, which I'm insanely proud of. Yeah, absolutely fantastic stuff. And I've had a joy watching these. These first bunch are pretty much some horror films that I've just, didn't really know. Other channels have sort of made me aware of them. So yeah, getting into that. The first one was actually a movie that I saw on Cody Leach's channel. It was a list he compiled of standalone horror films, and he talked about this one, and I was very much intrigued. I was like, I want to check that out, and I absolutely had a ball with it. So this is called The Loved Ones. Absolutely fantastic, very suspenseful torture movie. It sort of follows this girl who sort of gets turned down by all these lads at school, very much sort of like feeling isolated. So she ends up kidnapping this one popular student, and her and her dad absolutely torture him. It's horrific, it's vile, it's brutal, it's everything you want from this type of movie, and I just thought it was absolutely fantastic. So that is The Loved Ones. Next up was a vampire movie that I saw Marcus talk about from X-File 2708, and the way he talked about it, I was like, I like the sound of that, I've got to check it out. So I picked up Stakeland. This, again, fantastic vampire film. There was a jump scare at the start of this that absolutely got me. It was horrific. Absolutely, you could see it coming a mile off, but my word, it worked to such great effect. Superb stuff. Very much a bit like The Walking Dead, this film. Road trip type of movie. It follows a vampire hunter who's kind of training this apprentice, and it's him going from, you know, on his travels, killing all these vampires that sort of show up and get in his way. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was, a cracking film. That's Stakeland. Next up, I've got to give a shout out to Ash over at Popcorn and Horror. He was talking about this film. He said not a lot of people talk about it, so I wanted to pick it up and give it a go. It was definitely weird. It's not everyone's cup of tea, this one, but I couldn't help but quite like this film, and that is Nina Forever. It was very, very bizarre, but again, something very, very likable about this. I don't know what it was. It had a charm to it. I just thought it was a really, really fun film. Really weird, really bizarre, but like I said, not for everyone. So that's Nina Forever. And next up, we've got sort of an earlier Ty West film, and that is The House of the Devil. Not as enjoyable as his X trilogy, in my opinion, but I still liked it. Maybe I'll like it a little bit more on rewatch, but I enjoyed seeing Tom Noonan in there as well. He's always a fun actor, but yeah, didn't enjoy it as much as I wanted to, but yeah, just took it for what it was. Next up, with Jennifer Lawrence, we have House at the End of the Street. Not great, but not bad in my opinion. Just above average, but yeah, I still got some enjoyment from it, to say the least. So that's House at the End of the Street. Next up, I picked up an out-of-print Blu-ray that I believe... well, these are two movies, but I do believe we are getting a third film soon. It is on the cards. And it is 28 Days and 28 Weeks Later. Fantastic infection movie, these. First time I watched the first movie, I really liked it. Didn't like it on second time, but this third viewing, had a blast with it. 28 Weeks Later, still very, very good. Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed that opening. Thought it was superb with Robert Carlyle. Not a very likable character in it, but yeah, that opening was fantastic. So it's 28 Days and 28 Weeks Later. Next up, we've got a movie that I actually remember this coming out because I was working at cinema at the time, and I was just working away doing something, and someone came up to me and he said, I want a refund for watching that movie. It's the worst film I've ever seen in my life. So I said he had to go and speak to a manager, and he didn't end up getting his money back because he actually sat through the whole film. But that movie was Unfriended, and I've got to admit, this was the first time I watched it. I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was creepy in parts, creative. The execution of this movie is not going to be for everyone. It's probably, it could be considered very sort of headache inducing watching this movie because it's all told like on a laptop screen with webcams and stuff like that. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was creepy. Yeah, I liked it. So that's Unfriended. I've heard the sequel's even better, so I need to get a copy of that. Next up, another movie I saw on a video from Cody Leach, and it was him talking about his favourite vampire films. It's got Ethan Hawke, Willem Dafoe, Sam Neill, Daybreakers. Yeah, really enjoyed this one as well, about this sort of society of vampires. Thought it was a really good little vampire movie. Yeah, Daybreakers. Next up, I wasn't a big fan on this one. It stars everybody's favourite person, Amber Heard, of course. All the boys love Mandy Lane. I thought it started off pretty well, but it kind of went downhill after that, unfortunately. But we'll see what happens on rewatch at some point if my enjoyment of it picks up. So that's All the Boys Love Mandy Lane. Another shout out to Ash. She was talking about this one. I wanted to check it out. It didn't have the best IMDb score in my opinion, but after watching it, I thought it deserved so much more. And that is Ma with Octavia Spencer. Really, really enjoyed this. It sort of follows this group of kids who are trying to sort of like get an adult to buy them alcohol so they can have like this party. And they come across Octavia Spencer's character who's more than willing to sort of oblige them, but she wants something much, much more in return. And it just, yeah, unravels to insanity. There was a kill in this that I thought was absolutely brilliant. It was horrific on this road sequence, but yeah, really enjoyed this film. That's Ma. Next up, I got a couple of movies with Alice Lowe. One of them she actually directed as well. I've actually been quite enjoying her stuff. But this was a movie that I've upgraded to Blu-ray. I didn't really like it on first viewing, so I need to give the Blu-ray a rewatch. And it is Sightseers. I do want to give this, again, like I said, a rewatch because I wasn't a big fan of it the first time. I know it's sort of like, remember it being this sort of black comedy. But I'll give it another go. Hopefully I'll enjoy it more. So, yeah, that's Sightseers. Now, this next one was actually a movie she directed and starred in as well. And it is Prevenge. I really enjoyed this one. It's a little weird in places, but other than that, I think it is quite brutal and quite enjoyable. Really good sort of little underrated horror movie. Sort of follows this pregnant woman who something bad happens to her at the beginning of the film, and she kind of just slays everyone who just sort of gets in her way. And I just really liked it. Really uncomfortable stuff as well in this film, but I just thought it was a cracking little film. So that's Prevenge. Next up was one that everybody warned me about. Everyone said, stay clear of that movie. It is awful. And I ignored them, but they were right. And it is Imaginary. Now again, this was a movie that started off pretty well, but then it goes downhill fast. Yeah, some things about it I enjoyed, some I didn't, but I'm still going to keep hold of it, so that's Imaginary. And next up, we've got a movie that was actually recommended to me by Keith over at Euphoria Pictures, and he said, it's on Amazon, it's pretty cheap, pick it up, we'll watch it together. Me, Nige and Keith sat down and watched this. We had a blast with it, and it is Mindhunters. Val Kilmer, Christian Slater, LL Cool J. Sort of follows a bunch of FBI agents who are stuck on this island and they have to investigate this sort of theoretical murder that's going on. But they actually start getting bumped off one by one. And we were watching it, and me and Nige hadn't seen this before, and we were going, I think we've got a vague idea who the killer might be. 2 minutes later, we were completely wrong. And yeah, it just kept us guessing right to the very end. We were going, okay, maybe it's this person. Okay, maybe it's not this person. Maybe it's this person. Okay, no, it's not. It had us going like that, and it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. Creative kills. Yeah, just a good little movie. So that's Mindhunters. Next up is a remake that, again, I saw on Ash's channel. I picked it up. I had a blast with it. It's god-awful, but my god, it was so entertaining. The remake of Night of the Demons. Absolutely insane. The movie's just full of tits and arse and bad acting, over-the-top gore effects. It's everything you want from one of these schlocky remakes, and I just enjoyed it. Decent cast. Fun little after-credit scene as well, which made me chuckle. Yeah, Eddie Furlong as a lawyer. I mean, yeah, his acting was bad in this. But, yeah, it was a lot of fun. Also got a little cameo from Lana Quigley in this as well, from the original. So that's Night of the Demons. And next up, we've got some superhero movies. Not the best, of course, but Yeah, I did watch them. This was a first time watch for me. Came out, I think, in 2015. Fantastic. Absolutely character assassination of the Fantastic Four, this movie. God awful. Bad writing. Every shot in this movie looked like there just wasn't a light on at all. It just looked so dark. It was just a grim looking movie. There was one scene in it I actually did like, where obviously with Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, his power is, of course, obviously that he can stretch. There was a scene in it where he actually had to disguise himself and stretch certain parts of his face so he looked different. I actually thought that was decent in the movie, a decent little idea, but it couldn't save the film by any means. It was just bland. It was boring. The dialogue was bad. There is no Doom. There is no Victor, only Doom. I mean, talk about ripping off Ghostbusters. It was bad. It was bad. But part of me, I don't want to say I liked the movie, but I did get that bit of enjoyment, that flair of enjoyment from it. So yeah, that's Fantastic. And next up, sort of as a juxtaposition to that, I picked this up. It has an absolutely gorgeous slipcover. I think the slipcover might be better than the movies. But it is the double pack of Fantastic Four and Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer. Upgrade for me. I have these on DVD, but I've now obviously replaced them with this. These movies are fun. I enjoy them a hell of a lot more than the 2015 one. I think they are a bit more colourful. They've got some fun characters in there. They have fun, but they're not perfect. They're not the ideal Fantastic Four movie that I think we're all craving for. But yeah, again, that slipcover, the metallic sheen to it, the embossed writing on the front and on the spine as well. Yeah, I absolutely fell in love with this. So that's Fantastic Four and Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer. And then next up, we have another comic book movie that I haven't seen. Had absolutely horrific reviews about it, but I thought I'd give it a go. Jennifer Garner in Elektra. Yeah, not a great movie. I know this is kind of like a spin-off to the Daredevil movie with Ben Affleck, and that ain't great either. But this might be worse, but I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It was what it was. So I just took it for that. So, yeah, that is Elektra. So coming up next was a Blu-ray collection. I believe Stuart George picked this up. I was looking for it as well. I found it for a decent price off Amazon. It came with a nice slipcover. It's a little box set with a collection of 5 movies in, and I just thought, why not? I'll give it a go. 47 Ronin, Lucy, Dracula Untold, Immortals, and R.I.P.D. I quite enjoyed all these movies, to be honest. Far from perfect, but all 5 of these movies were solid 6 out of 10 films for me. I was entertained in some way by at least all of them. And yeah, I just really enjoyed it. A nice little box set, great way to get all these movies together. Very, very reasonably priced, as Nige would say. And yeah, just really enjoyed it, these films together. So it's a nice set, nice slipcover to it as well. So yeah, just thought again, why not pick that up? So yeah, that's that little Universal box set. And to go along with that, again, Ash over at Popcorn Horror, he showed this movie that I was interested and wanted to pick up, As Above, So Below. It was quite expensive individually on Blu-ray on its own. So I saw this box set and it had it in, and I was like, yeah, I'll pick that up too. Some of the movies I did own as well. But yeah, it's another one of these Universal box sets. So we've got As Above, So Below, The Purge Anarchy, Mama, and Ouija. I did own Ouija and I did own The Purge. I had seen The Purge before. Yeah, it was a fine movie. The sequel was pretty good as well. Mama, I actually really enjoyed with Jessica Chastain. Ouija left much to be desired. But As Above, So Below, there was one moment in that I thought was creepy as hell. It really worked for me. So yeah, shame it didn't come with a slipcover, but hey ho, can't win all the time. So yeah, enjoyed this box set too. So yeah, coming up next, more individual titles now. So Samuel L. Jackson as the president in this one. Big game, daft, over the top, silly fun. Bit of a diet version of Air Force One in my opinion. Yeah, just absolutely ludicrous stuff that would never ever actually happen in real life, but yeah, entertaining nonetheless. So that's Big Game. Next up, we have ISS, International Space Station. Really, really awesome premise. Poor execution, in my opinion. Dull. Just a bit of a dull movie. Yeah, bit of a grim premise as well, to say the least, despite everything that's going on in the world right now. If you've not seen it, look it up. But yeah, just poor execution, unfortunately. Next one, I quite enjoyed this one. Christopher Walken, Sharon Stone, $5 a day. Yeah, it was a daft little comedy. It's not laugh out loud stuff, but an enjoyable film, heartwarming to say the least. So yeah, that's $5 a day. Next up, saw Jamie Powell pick this one up, and I was like, yeah, for a very, very decent, reasonably priced Blu-ray, I picked up Young Guns 1 and 2 as well on Blu-ray. Had these on DVD for the longest time, so glad to get them on Blu-ray in this sort of little set they've put together. So yeah, that's Young Guns 1 and 2. Next up from Disney, we have the live-action remake of The Little Mermaid. I enjoyed this one. This is probably the best live-action remake they've done. There's little changes here and there in it, but it's beat for beat the same movie. I actually enjoyed Melissa McCarthy as Ursula in this film. I've never found her funny, but yeah, actually quite enjoyed her in this one. Yeah, I just thought it looked pretty good as well, so that's The Little Mermaid. Next up, we had a movie I was actually really intrigued to see, but unfortunately it just left a little bit to be desired, and that is The Ledge. Yeah, it had a really good cast, but unfortunately it just didn't deliver for me. Maybe you like this one, maybe you've seen it and enjoy it more than I did, but maybe I need to give it another rewatch. You can watch a movie, of course, on an off day, so yeah, that's The Ledge. Next up, with Clive Owen and the stunning Monica Bellucci, Paul Giamatti as well, we have Shoot 'Em Up. This was just over-the-top action, and yeah, I just enjoyed this one. It didn't stop to breathe for 1 second. It was just ludicrous, over-the-top. Really, really enjoyed it. So that's Shoot 'Em Up. Next up, quite an underrated film in my opinion. Robert Carlyle, Ving Rhames. Yeah, I enjoyed this one. The Tournament, little bit like Battle Royale, but yeah, it was again absolutely ludicrous premise. Really, really enjoyed it. Over the top violence in it. There was one scene with a dog. I wasn't a big fan of what happened there, to be honest. I don't think you should really do that in movies, but yeah, I guess it's motivation to dislike the person who does it. But yeah, other than that, really, really enjoyed the movie. So that's The Tournament. Next up was a movie. I actually remember going on a date to watch this film, and it is Reese Witherspoon, Chris Pine, Tom Hardy. This Means War. Yeah, daft comedy, would never happen. Two secret agents end up dating the same woman at the same time, and pretty much she has to choose one. It's a fun film. I enjoy it for what it is. It's daft. I hadn't seen it since I saw it at the cinema, but yeah, it was a fun movie. So that's This Means War. Talking of fun, absolutely none of that to be found here for me, unfortunately. I remember seeing this at the cinema. Jesus Christ. I did a double bill of this with X-Men Dark Phoenix. That was a rough day. Men in Black International. And you're probably wondering, why the hell did I pick this up? I just needed it for the Men in Black collection. Unfortunately, I'm a purist. And I saw it for a couple of quid, and I just thought, again, why not? So I'll pick it up. So that's Men in Black International. Next up, a fun little gangster movie, this one, far from perfect, but yeah, 44-inch chest, Ray Winston, John Hurt and Ian McShane were the show stealers in this for me. The chemistry between them was absolutely hilarious. The scenes when they were on together was just so funny. Really, really enjoyed them in it. So yeah, other than that, not perfect. I was expecting like a Sexy Beast type of movie, but it is there, but it doesn't go all the way with it. So yeah, that's 44-inch chest. I picked this next one up because of the cast. I just was really intrigued by it. The stunning Jennifer Love Hewitt, Alec Baldwin, who also directed this movie, Anthony Hopkins, Dan Aykroyd, Kim Cattrall. Where could you go wrong? But unfortunately, the movie managed to find a way. Shortcut to Happiness, not amazing, not great, unfortunately, but the cast is a saving grace. If you want to see the talent on screen, check it out. But other than that, don't get your hopes up with this one. Shortcut to Happiness. Next up with Liam Neeson, we have Cold Pursuit. I watched this on streaming, which for me is absolutely sacrilege, but yeah, saw it for, again, a decent price, Music Magpie, so picked this one up. Cold Pursuit. Next one, Upgrade for me. Tony Scott film, Denzel Washington, Man on Fire, superb action film. Dakota Fanning gets kidnapped in this movie, and the sort of hired bodyguard, Denzel Washington, will stop at nothing to get her back. Great action film, really, really enjoy it. One of Denzel's best. So that's Man on Fire. Yeah, next one. Really, really enjoyed this one. Was on a little bit of a Vince Vaughn kick this month. There's a couple of other movies you'll see pop up in this video. But yeah, absolutely loved him in Brawl in Cell Block 99. And I think this was done by the same director. So with Mel Gibson, we have Dragged Across Concrete. Yeah, gorgeous slipcover. Really, really enjoyed the film. Bit of a slow burn, dialogue driven in parts, but yeah, when it gets brutal, the main villain in this film, absolutely despicable. So enjoyed it nonetheless though. So that's Dragged Across Concrete. Next up, Tom Hardy. Very, very small movie. I can't imagine the budget for this film being very, very much. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Dialogue driven, like I said, and that is Locke. So it sort of follows him driving around, making all these phone calls to stop this sort of like big disaster from happening for him. But yeah, I enjoyed it nonetheless. So that's Locke. Next up we have Ewan McGregor, Michelle Williams, Hugh Jackman in Deception. Now, I had a bit of a problem with this. The Blu-ray disc didn't really work for me, so I had to pick this up on DVD eventually. Watched it, enjoyed it for what it was. Not great, not awful, just a bang average movie, so that's Deception. I saw the trailer for this next one and I was quite intrigued to see it. Mark Ruffalo, Rachel Weisz, Adrian Brody, the Brothers Bloom. Again, an above average movie, not awful, but not great either. Pretty good, but yeah, just left, again, much to be desired. So that's the Brothers Bloom. Speaking of much to be desired, next up, another comic book movie from this year that absolutely tanked. Madam Web. I enjoyed the ending to this movie. That's all I can really say about it with a positive light. It's dull, it's boring, it tries too hard. I kind of am fascinated by train wreck movies, and this is definitely one of them. But yeah, it just constantly is shoving in your face that this movie takes place in the early 2000s, and it just doesn't work. It doesn't come across as organic. It's just, yeah. But again, something entertaining about it with how bad it was. I'll take that from it. So that's Madam Web. Really enjoyed this next one. Sort of this crime thriller. Really enjoyed it. Ethan Hawke, Richard Gere, who I'm not the biggest fan of. Enjoyed him in this movie. Don Cheadle, Wesley Snipes. Brooklyn's Finest. Yeah, solid crime drama. Really, really enjoyed it. Nowhere near in the same vein as movies like Heat or anything like that, but yeah, still enjoyed it for what it was. That's Brooklyn's Finest. Another Ethan Hawke movie now, bit of a sci-fi one. Enjoyed it. Predestination. Yeah, good little time travel movie. Enjoyed this one for what it was. Yeah, Predestination. Next up, another sci-fi film. I remember this coming out and it had mixed reviews. I know it's based off a book, which a lot of fans of the book really don't like the film because it was just a missed opportunity. Asa Butterfield, Harrison Ford, Haley Steinfeld, Ben Kingsley. Ender's Game. Yeah, I think the draw for me is probably Harrison Ford and Ben Kingsley in this one. That's probably the real reason why I wanted to check it out. I thought it was fine. There was one kid in this. At least he looked like a kid. I don't know what he was. Unfortunately, but he just wound me up. He was just awful. He was a little pest in this film. Really didn't like his character at all. Just so up his own arse. Yeah, just yeah, didn't like that character in it at all. But other than that, I thought the movie was fun. So that's Ender's Game. Next up, I know Arrow have put out the 4Ks of these, but they were going for like less than £2 each on eBay, so I just thought I'd pick them up. Clash of the Titans and Wrath of the Titans with Sam Worthington. I enjoyed these. They were entertaining. Not great, but yeah, they were fun films. A good little double bill feature, so that's Clash and Wrath of the Titans. Next up from Aardman Animations, we have Early Man. Comes with a nice slip. Bit of a weird movie, this one, sort of about a football tournament. It was daft, it was over the top. It's nowhere near as good as the likes of Chicken Run or Wallace and Gromit. But yeah, I enjoyed it for the animation style. At least there was that. And there was some good voice acting talent in this one. So that's Early Man. So again, this one really did catch me on an off night. I really didn't enjoy this at all. I think there was some other things going on in the background for me that I had on while I was watching this, and unfortunately I just didn't enjoy it. And it is the Warcraft movie. Yeah, maybe I need to give this one another rewatch at some point, but it just caught me on a bad night. Didn't enjoy this one at all, unfortunately. So that's Warcraft. Coming up next, we have The Time Traveler's Wife. Yeah, Rachel McAdams, Eric Bana. It just didn't blow the socks off me, this one, unfortunately. I did enjoy it, but it just wasn't this big, epic, romantic drama that I wanted from it. At least I didn't get that from it anyway. So, yeah, that's The Time Traveler's Wife. So next up with Mel Gibson, we have The Edge of Darkness with Ray Winston as well. Yeah, enjoyed this one for what it was, but after watching it, it was kind of just like a one and done thing. Very brutal opening to it. But yeah, maybe I'll enjoy it more and rewatch again. So that's Edge of Darkness. Next up we have, unfortunately this one didn't work too well for me either, but I enjoyed the ending. It really did pay off in the final act. It's Dominic Cooper in The Devil's Double. Yeah, it just didn't do much for me in that the first part of the film, but it did pick up towards the end. So yeah, that's The Devil's Double. Next up we have a remake from Tony Scott. It wasn't as good as the original in my opinion, with Robert Shaw. This has got Denzel Washington, John Travolta, The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it was a fine remake. It was very cookie cutter to the original. The blueprints were already there to make this movie, but yeah, it was fine. John Travolta was pretty good in it. So was Washington, but yeah, it just wasn't as good as the original for me. So that's The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. Next up, I actually enjoyed this one. Good political thriller with some really good familiar faces in it as well. Ewan McGregor, Pierce Brosnan, Kim Cattrall. Timothy Hutton's in this movie as well, and I want to say Jim Belushi as well, an unrecognisable Jim Belushi. But yeah, it is The Ghost. I think this is called The Ghost Writer in some other parts of the world as well. Got this dirt cheap off Music Magpie. Enjoyed it. It was really, really good. So yeah, that's The Ghost. Next up, another, not a great comedy, but I just picked this one up because I'd seen it before on TV. And it is The Other Woman, Leslie Mann, Kate Upton, Cameron Diaz. Just a daft, over-the-top, silly comedy. So yeah, I thought I'd pick this one up to own. So that's The Other Woman. Next up, hadn't seen this one before. Remember the poster artwork for it. Steve Carell, Anne Hathaway, Dwayne Johnson, Alan Arkin. Get Smart. I know this was based off a TV show. Watched it. It was fun. It was a good time. It was a good little spy action movie with some comedy thrown in. Enjoyed it. Alan Arkin probably got the most laughs out of me when watching this, but yeah, that's Get Smart. Next up, yeah, I was on a bit of a Simon Pegg kick, to be honest, with him and Nick Frost. So I thought I'd try and grab a few movies with them in. Obviously not together, but some of them, yeah. Hector and the Search for Happiness. It wasn't the laugh out loud comedy I was searching for. This was a bit more of like a spiritual journey type of movie. Rosamund Pike is absolutely great in everything she's in. I think she's a fantastic actress. And yeah, this it's not like the typical comedy you'd expect from Simon Pegg, but it was just a bit more of a spiritual type of journey, a bit more serious film. So yeah, enjoyed that one. Next up, again, Simon Pegg with Andy Serkis, John Landis film, Burke and Hare. Yeah, enjoyed this one. It wasn't as good as the Doctor's Devils, which was another movie sort of based on a similar premise made in the 80s. The Doctor and the Devil, I think it was. But yeah, it was still a good movie. It was good to see Tim Curry and Ronnie Corbett in this as well. Yeah, it was just daft, over the top fun, real dark comedy, this one. So that's Burke and Hare. Next up, comedy with a stellar cast. These types of movies came out, I think, in the late 2000s, that first decade. So he's just not that into you. Yeah, one of these rom-coms with an ensemble cast. Yeah, it is what you'd expect it to be. It's exactly what it says on the tin. So he's just not that into you. Next up, Amy Schumer, Trainwreck. I enjoyed this one. I thought it was good. It had some good moments in it, some serious moments. Comedy worked for me. Yeah, I enjoyed this one. Trainwreck. Another movie with a good cast here now. Idris Elba, Jason Patrick, Zoe Saldana, Chris Evans, Jeffrey Dean Morgan. The Losers. Yeah, I again enjoyed this one. It wasn't, again, until the end where the comedy really sort of worked for me. There was a great scene in this with Chris Evans with where he's watching like a kids football match and he absolutely loses it. It was so funny. Yeah, just really enjoyed it. That's The Losers. Next up, bit of an underrated movie, this one. Yeah, again, like I said, I was on a bit of a Vince Vaughn kick as well, so I picked this one up. Hadn't seen it before. Kristen Bell, Queen Pins. Yeah, I like this one. It had a good premise. I really enjoyed it. So it kind of follows Kristen Bell's character, who uses a lot of coupons to get a discount on her shopping. And it just gets completely out of hand. She starts mass producing these fake coupons. So like when she does like a weekly shop, it comes to like $170 or something like that. But by the time she's used these coupons, it's cost like $13. And she just absolutely makes a killing producing these fake coupons. And obviously there's some agents that try and stop her in the movie, trying to find out what's going on. It worked for me. It was fun. It was daft. It was silly. But I just really enjoyed it. So that's Queen Pins. Next up, Tom Cruise, Cameron Diaz. Hadn't seen this one. Dirt cheap off Music Magpie. Night and Day. It was a fun action movie. It was just a Mission Impossible film with less action sequences and more comedy. That's all it was. It was what it was on the tin. I put off watching this movie for quite a fair bit because I thought I wasn't going to like it. And it was just exactly what I expected it to be. It was what it was. Nothing amazing. So that's Night and Day. Another Chris Evans movie now with Anna Faris as well. What's Your Number? Yeah, another one of these throwaway comedies. Not amazing, not awful, but was what it was. So that's What's Your Number. Next up, I picked up a couple of movies with an actor I seriously do not like at all. I really cannot stand Michael Cera. But I picked up some of these movies because there's other actors in them. And I just wanted to give it a go. But I actually ended up enjoying these first two, to say the least. So the first one we have is Youth in Revolt. Yeah, I kind of enjoyed this one. It was more of the supporting cast. I liked Zach Galifianakis in this as like this dodgy sort of the guy that his mum's dating in this movie. He's just like a dodgy car salesman, sells this car to these sailors who the car just falls to bits pretty much, and these sailors like absolutely furious with him. So he like leaves town. The three of them go away, and he ends up sort of falling for this girl at this caravan sort of getaway place. And I just enjoyed it. I enjoyed the movie, enjoyed where it was. He kind of like has a split personality in it as well. Someone who is willing to do the things that he's not. I just thought it was a good movie. Really enjoyed it for what it was. So despite Michael Cera being in it, who was tolerable in this film. So that's Youth in Revolt. And the next one I got with him in was, again, him and Kat Dennings in Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist. Enjoyed it. Good soundtrack. It wasn't as music heavy as I wanted it to be, though. I was like, I want to hear like all these like great underrated songs in it, and it just didn't do that. But it was more of like a sort of a road trip across town type of movie where things are happening. You got to go from one place to the next. It was that type of movie, very transient, but enjoyed it nonetheless. That's Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist. Again, this is probably, you know, a massive staple from the late 2000s. This one, Elliot Page, Michael Cera, Jennifer Garner, Juno. Yeah, enjoyed it. I really hated this movie the first time I watched it. I couldn't stand Elliot Page's character in it. Wound me up to no end. It was just insufferable. The mannerisms and what they were saying, it really wound me up to the point where I turned the movie off. I went back to it a couple of years later and I did find it enjoyable. It kind of sort of, that annoying tone wound down for me as the movie went on, and I enjoyed it. J.K. Simmons is great in the movie as well as Juno's dad. Yeah, just a good movie, good drama. I enjoyed it more when Jennifer Garner came into it as the kind of like this couple like looking to adopt this baby. That side of it I actually thought was a lot more interesting. So yeah, that's Juno. Next up, two movies that kind of sort of had the same premise to them. I got both of these on Blu-ray. I saw one of them at the cinema and one of them I hadn't seen before, so I watched that over the past month as well. So these are just two movies. Like Hollywood does this sometimes where they just release two movies with exactly the same premise. So I picked these up on Blu-ray. Friends with Benefits and No Strings Attached. So yeah, they both have exactly the same premise. They're the same movie pretty much. I probably prefer Friends with Benefits a little bit more. I think there was just I like the New York setting. It just had a bit more likability while I was watching it. That movie, No Strings Attached, was fine. Natalie Portman, Ashton Kutcher had great chemistry in the movie, but yeah, I enjoyed Friends with Benefits probably just a tad bit more. So yeah, that's them. Next up, with obviously the passing late last year of Matthew Perry, I picked this one up because he had like a small role in the movie, even though it's like he's like the main sort of character in it, with Zac Efron as well. 17 again. Yeah, enjoyed this. It sort of follows him. He's sort of losing himself. His marriage is falling apart. His kids really don't respect him. And he's just thinking, like, what if I could go back and do things differently and do it all over again? And magically one night, he is transformed back to his 17-year-old self again, played by Zac Efron. And things take off from there. And I enjoyed this movie. It had a lot of heart to it. It was brilliant. You can obviously see where the movie's going by the end of it. And yeah, I just enjoyed it. It was daft fun. Nothing too serious, tongue-in-cheek type of movie, but a lot of fun to be enjoyed here. So that's 17 again. Stellar cast in this one: Matthew Broderick, Ben Stiller, Taya Leone, Eddie Murphy, Casey Affleck as well, Michael Pena. Tower Heist. Yeah, a fun throwaway little comedy movie. I remember this coming out, but I escaped. I escaped sort of viewing this one at the time, but saw it in CEX. It was like £1 on Blu-ray, so I picked this up. Tower Heist. Picked this one up as well. It was like £1 on Music Magpie. Steve Coogan, Alan Partridge in Alpha Papa. Yeah, it was a good movie. Really enjoyed it. I remember watching bits and bobs of him as Alan Partridge on TV growing up in the 90s, and yeah, I saw the movie was coming out, but again, didn't see it when it came out. Watched it on Blu-ray this month, and yeah, really enjoyed it. The radio station that he's on is sort of like going through these changes, and someone ends up losing their job and taking it hostage. Yeah, it was a daft fun movie. Really enjoyed it. So that's Alan Partridge, Alpha Papa. Next up, bit of an underrated one here. Great cast. Bill Nighy, Rupert Grint, Emily Blunt, Martin Freeman. You've also got Rupert Everett in there as well. Wild Target. I saw the trailer for this and I thought, you know what, I'll give that one a go. And I ended up enjoying it. Bill Nighy plays a great hitman in this film, and Emily Blunt is just a chronic liar in this film. She's just pretty much the perfect con woman, and Bill Nighy's sort of tasked with sort of assassinating her, but their paths sort of cross in a different way, and they end up sort of becoming sort of partners in the movie. It's bizarre, but very, very likable film. And then Martin Freeman's brought in to sort of do the proper job. Yeah, really, really enjoyed this one. Really liked it. Great cast, fun chemistry. So yeah, that's Wild Targets. Next up, Ryan Reynolds, Jason Bateman in The Change-Up. Yeah, I thought this movie was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed it, particularly the start of the movie. Jason Bateman is obviously like the straight character, the family man with the kids, and Ryan Reynolds is obviously, you know, he has no responsibilities in life. He just does what he wants when he wants, and the two of them swap, and it's all about them coping with the big change. And I enjoyed it. It's a body swap movie. It worked really well for me, and yeah, I just thought the comedy was spot on. So that's The Change-Up. I can't say the same for the next one, unfortunately, because I was expecting this to be like have that same type of humor, that fast-paced sort of comedy, but it was a bit more serious. And again, maybe on rewatch, I might sort of appreciate it more for what it was. And it is Jennifer Aniston and Jason Bateman in The Switch. Just a bit more of a serious movie, sort of about this woman by Jennifer Aniston who wants to sort of become pregnant and finds out who her donor is. And yeah, it was just a bit more serious. I wanted it to have like that same type of comedy as The Change-Up, but unfortunately it wasn't to be. But again, caught the movie at the wrong time possibly. So that's The Switch. Next up is an upgrade for me from DVD. I haven't seen this in the longest time, but I need to give this one a rewatch because I do remember really liking this film. Ben Stiller, Owen Wilson, Starsky and Hutch, obviously based off the TV show from the 70s. Yeah, I have a great time with this one. Really, really enjoy it. Very heavy on the drugs in this movie as well, which I was quite surprised for a comedy. So yeah, that's Starsky and Hutch. Vince Vaughn's actually a pretty good villain in that as well. Again, I've got to give kudos to, again, Ash for this one. Bernie Mac, Samuel L. Jackson in Soul Men. Yeah, really enjoyed this. It sort of follows this trio of this band of soul singers, and they just completely lose their way, fall out, and go on their different paths. Samuel L. Jackson pretty much goes on a very dark path in this movie, and the third member of this trio dies, and they want to sort of like commemorate him and get the other two members back together. And yeah, it's just about sort of like Bernie Mac trying to win Samuel L. Jackson over to perform in this reunion. I enjoyed it. I think interesting fact as well about this is Isaac Hayes is also in the movie, and Bernie Mac and Isaac Hayes both passed away one day after the other, which I just thought was just absolutely tragic. And I think it was around about the same time that this movie came out as well. So I think this was both of their last movie, but to tragically pass away a day apart from each other as well was just it was just quite sad when you think about it. But overall, I did enjoy the movie. It got some chuckles out of me. It's a fun time, not perfect, but yeah, a good little comedy. So that's Soul Men. Next up, Isla Fisher in Confessions of a Shopaholic. I remember seeing the posters for this when it came out, and I just didn't catch the movie. Caught it on Blu-ray, and yeah, it was exactly what I expected it to be. A daft, over-the-top comedy. Really, really enjoyed this one. So that's Confessions of a Shopaholic. A few upgrades for me now. Got this one imported from the States, I believe. It's not a perfect movie, but I do have nostalgia for it. I do like it. Without a Paddle, Dax Shepard, Matthew Lillard, Seth Green. It sort of follows these four friends. One of them passes away, and the other three go on this like adventure that their friend who passed away planned out as they go back and like rediscover their childhood roots. It's a fun movie. It doesn't go all the way, I think, with the crudeness. It's not a very crude comedy, but yeah, it's just enjoyable. It's just daft. It's fun. I like it. So yeah, that's Without a Paddle. This next one I think does go all the way with the crudeness. Euro Trip. Had to get this on Blu-ray. I haven't seen it in the longest time, so I'm looking forward to rewatching it. So yeah, that's Euro Trip. Had to get this one on Blu-ray as well because I rewatched the DVD. It looked awful. The transfer on the DVD is shocking. And yeah, had to upgrade this, so I'm looking forward to watching it again. Not another teen movie. It's right up my street, this movie. I absolutely love the genre, the teen comedy. I adore it. I can never get enough of it. Absolutely love it. So yeah, that's not another teen movie. A comedy with Melissa McCarthy next. I enjoyed it. Yeah, Happy Time Murders. It wasn't amazing, but yeah, I still enjoyed it. There were some really good funny moments in it. Not a very highly strung together film, but the comedy worked. So yeah, that's the Happy Time Murders. A couple of Adam Sandler movies next. We have 50 First Dates. This is just an upgrade for me. I used to watch this movie all the time when I was younger. Really enjoyed it. Adam Sandler, Drew Barrymore have amazing chemistry together. I absolutely adore The Wedding Singer. And this one is a good little reunion for the two of them. Really like this one. So that's 50 First Dates. I haven't seen this one for the longest time either. It's a Blu-ray that is just long out of print. But I think there is a foreign version, so I decided to get it imported. And it's Adam Sandler, Jack Nicholson in Anger Management. Yeah, the two of them got great chemistry. Jack Nicholson's just on fire in this film. Really enjoy him in it. And yeah, I just really like this movie, so that's Anger Management. Another Vince Vaughn movie now here. Chris Pratt in this one as well. Delivery Man. It sort of follows him as like, he was like a sperm donor, and apparently like he just fathered quite a lot of children. I think it was like over 500 children, and it's about him trying to like sort of connect with like a handful of them in this movie. It worked. It was fine. It was all right. It just wasn't amazing. Wasn't that? It just didn't deliver on the laughs as much as I wanted it to, but still a good and interesting premise nonetheless. So that's Delivery Man. So I mentioned before I was on a bit of a Simon Pegg kick, and I picked this one up with Nick Frost, although Simon Pegg does have a little cameo in the film. Cuban Fury. Yeah, it was exactly what I wanted it to be. It was just one of these comedies that was a fun time. It was a good time, a comfort movie that you could just slap on and watch, not take too seriously. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Cuban Fury. Same again for this next one. Not as much of a comfort film, but I still liked it. How to Lose Friends and Alienate People. Great cast. Jeff Bridges, Simon Pegg, Megan Fox, Kirsten Dunst. Yeah, enjoyed this one. Bit more mean-spirited than Cuban Fury, but I still liked it. So yeah. And again, Keith over at Euphoria Pictures recommended this one to me. Saw it dirt cheap on eBay. Again, probably another Music Magpie purchase. Simon Pegg, like Bell, man up. Great comedy in this. Keith was spot on because he told me there was a really fun scene with Duran Duran's The Reflex in this. Yeah, absolutely right. Really enjoyed it. So yeah, that's Man Up. Another teen comedy next. Had to upgrade this from DVD. Girl Next Door. Yeah, absolutely hilarious. Love this one. It gets better and better for me on rewatch. This one. Really enjoy it. So that's The Girl Next Door. Another one that Ash, Popcorn and Horror, recommended in his videos. Loved watching his Off the Shelf series. And this one I hadn't seen but wanted to give it a go. Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates. Yeah, fun film, great cast. Yeah, really funny. There was one moment in this that just had me absolutely I had to rewind it and watch it again because it was just that funny. So there's just the scene where they're on the quad bikes and there's this woman just standing there and she gets hit in the face by the back tyre. It was hysterical. I couldn't catch my breath. It really worked for me. So yeah, Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates. Absolute comedy classic next. I think this is one that definitely is going to hold up over time. Absolutely love it. John C. Reilly, Will Ferrell, amazing chemistry in this. Yeah, upgrade from DVD. Step Brothers. Comedy gold. Absolutely love it. The two of them just work so well. unfortunately. I heard that that Sherlock Holmes movie they did was absolutely dire and terrible. Hadn't seen it. I've got really no interest, but I think Step Brothers is definitely the magnum opus for these two. They just work so well in it. Absolutely love it. Step Brothers. And next up, Superbad. Again, one of these great teen comedies. Bit more of a recent one, sort of to come out from the late. I think this was what 2007, 2008, as opposed to the ones from the late 90s. Really, really liked it. Really enjoy it. I remember watching this for the first time and watching it again with like a couple of friends. We were just hanging out and we put it on and watched it. It was just great experience. Really, really enjoyed it. And yeah, the comedy in the movie really, really works for me as well. So that's Superbad. And next up we have a movie and pretty much its spiritual sequel, sort of in the same vein. So we have Knocked Up and This Is 40. Yeah. Knocked Up particularly probably my favourite. Really enjoy it. Yeah, Seth Rogen, Katherine Heigl, I think have good chemistry in the movie. Comedy works. And again, This Is 40 sort of following Leslie Mann and Paul Rudd's relationship as they get their own movie. It's fine. It's all right. It's not as funny as Knocked Up, but yeah, the two movies are enjoyable. And again, sort of keeping in the same vein, picked this up on Blu-ray. I think it's out of print now, and it is Steve Carell and the 40-Year-Old Virgin. Another upgrade to Blu-ray from DVD for me. This one, yeah, enjoy it. It's got some good laughs in it. I think this was the one that kind of put Seth Rogen on the map for me. Sort of made me sort of take notice of him as a comedy actor. I remember him getting a good laugh out of me in this film, but yeah, I enjoy it. It's the 40-Year-Old Virgin. Another Jennifer Garner film now, Matthew McConaughey, Ghosts of Girlfriends Past. I was expecting this. It wasn't at all what I was expecting it to be at all. It was kind of like a bit more of a retelling of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, to be honest. I just wasn't expecting it at all. I honestly thought the premise of this was Jennifer Garner's character was like an ex-girlfriend who passed away and her ghost came back to like haunt him while he was like sort of meeting other women in the movie. I thought that was like going to be the premise of it. That is not the premise of this movie at all. It was completely different. Wasn't what I expected it to be at all. It was fun. It was a bit mean-spirited in places. The comedy didn't always work, but it was fine. So yeah, that's Ghosts of Girlfriends Past. Next up was one that I actually surprisingly quite enjoyed. The Wedding Ringer. Yeah, I like this one. Josh Gad is marrying Kaylee Cuckoo's character in this movie, and he doesn't have like any sort of close personal friends. So Kevin Hart offers his services where you can hire him to be your best friend and be your best man at your wedding. And yeah, that's kind of what this movie is about. It's daft. Again, I'm sounding like a broken record. It's likable, it's daft, it's silly, it's over the top. It's all those things. Definitely some lines in the movie that did get a chuckle out of me, and I just enjoyed it. So yeah, that's The Wedding Ringer. So next up, we've got a couple of bootlegs next. Probably some movies that I know I've got official releases. I'll probably pick them up down the line at some point. A lot of these are going to be trapped on streaming, unfortunately. But the first one I've got is a TV show, and I know Jamie Powell picked this up because it was an animated series that both he and I sort of grew up watching. And I was speaking to Jamie about it, and he said apparently the show really still does hold up. And it's an animated show based off a movie, and it is The Mask, the animated series. I remember watching this and absolutely loving it. Coming back from school on Friday nights and watching this one on TV. Absolutely funny stuff. Really, really enjoy it. So I'm in the middle of I'm still watching the A-Team on Blu-ray, so I probably might watch this next after that. But yeah, really, really looking forward to delving into this one. So yeah, that's The Mask, the animated series. And next up, again, Bumpers Movies. I'll leave a link to his channel down below. He's managed to sort some films out for me. And yeah, really, really had a blast watching these that I've the ones that I've seen so far. There's one I haven't actually watched yet. So the first one that we've got, which I haven't actually seen yet, is The Zone of Interest. Yeah, I've sort of got to be in the right mindset to watch this one. I don't really want to go out on a night out and then come back and put Zone of Interest on, so I might watch this one at some point after. Yeah, that's The Zone of Interest. Next up, movie I actually quite enjoyed on Hulu. That's Crush. Yeah, enjoyed this one. It sort of follows this this girl who's gay, and she's like got a crush with someone that's on the same sports team as her. Really enjoyed this one. Really liked it. So yeah, that's Crush. Great cast to this next one. Wasn't a massive fan of the film, but I still enjoyed it. See How They Run. Yeah, it was a fun little sort of murder mystery type of movie. But yeah, it was kind of like one of these ones that once you've seen one, you've kind of seen them all. So yeah, that's See How They Run. Next up, we have Ryan Reynolds in If, Imaginary Friend. Yeah, enjoyed it. It was good. It breathed new life into like the genre, I guess. It was just a fun film. Enjoyed it for what it was. So yeah, that's If. I was really excited to watch this next one, and to be honest, yeah, it didn't disappoint. It wasn't what I expected, but it was very, very interesting to say the least. And it was directed by Andrew McCarthy, and it is Brats. So this focused on the Brat Pack and kind of the negative impact that it had on these actors' lives. It was just kind of like a fascinating deep dive into it, and Andrew McCarthy was like trying to round up all the actors from the 80s and just try and suss out like what was going on, why did this happen, why did we get branded, and how did it really affect us, and the negative impact of it. It was just really, really interesting to watch. I was quite surprised to see how much some of them didn't really want to talk about it, particularly Emilio Estevez. He was very much like, it's a done thing, it's in the past. You can't, if you're traveling forward, you can't look backwards. You can look in the mirror every now and again, but if you look too long, you're going to stumble when you're moving forward. It was interesting. It was just a fascinating take on it, and I just enjoyed the movie. Really, really good, because I'm a massive Brat Pack fan. I love those movies, but behind the scenes, you didn't see what was going on, and it was a really, really interesting insight to watch. But yeah, those of them who took part in it, I was glad to see back. But yeah, enjoyed this one for what it was. So that's Brats. Next up, Jason Statham in The Beekeeper. I went to cinema to see this. I had a blast with it. It was daft. It was silly. Again, over the top fun. One of these sort of 90s action movies brought forward into the modern era. Yeah, it just did what it said on the tin. Everything you'd expect it to be. Yeah, that's The Beekeeper. Next up, we have a vampire movie with Jamie Foxx. I enjoyed this one. Day Shift. Yeah, really, really enjoyed it. It didn't go all the way with its premise, but again, for what it was, I did get a kick out of it. The opening scene in this movie I thought was great. Really, really enjoyed it. And yeah, overall, I just thought it was a fun film. So that's Day Shift. Next up, we have with Sebastian Stan, Fresh. Yeah, this was, again, really, really sort of one of these dark comedy movies. Sebastian Stan is obviously like selling meat off eBay, but it's human meat. It's really sort of disturbing, but again, quite likable. It's definitely worth checking out if you've not seen it. So, but I enjoyed it. That's Fresh. And next up, with John Cena and Zac Efron, we have Ricky Stenicki. Yeah, this was a fun comedy. I enjoyed it. I had a blast with it. John Cena's been popping up in some fun comedies lately, and I've just been enjoying watching him. So that's Ricky Stenicki. Again, yeah, he pops up in this one too. Great cast, great premise, but unfortunately, the execution just didn't quite work for me with this one. But it is Argyle. Without spoiling it, there was I wanted to see more of some actors in this movie. They just weren't in it long enough. But yeah, it just it just didn't quite work for me, unfortunately. But I did like the movie enough. It had a great soundtrack. The cast in it were great, but again, some members just weren't in it enough, and it really hurt the movie, in my opinion. It was like I wanted to spend longer with them in what was going on, but it just focused on two characters pretty much for the whole movie, and yeah, it was a little bit disappointing, unfortunately. But maybe on rewatch, I'll take it for what it is. So that's Argyle. Next up, we've got probably one of my most anticipated movies that I wanted to see because I'm a big fan of the original trilogy. Eddie Murphy, Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F. I enjoyed it. I thought it was really solid. It probably still comes in last place for me if I was to rank them, but I don't hate any of the Beverly Hills Cop movie. I do think it is a better movie than 3, but I still like 3 more than it, if that makes sense. And yeah, I just enjoyed it. Kevin Bacon was great as the villain in this. It was great to see the 3 actors as well back together. Just an enjoyable film. Really, really enjoyed it. So that's Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F. Next up, we have Bad Boys: Ride or Die. Yep, I watched this one. I thought it was great. I loved the way this movie was shot. Absolutely fantastic. Martin Lawrence was hilarious in this movie. It sort of, he has like a near-death experience at the start of the movie, but once he sort of gets over that, he just feels like he's absolutely invincible. He's just so funny in this movie to watch. The opening scene was great when they're late for this wedding. Absolutely loved it. The way it was shot, the action sequences in the movie, really, really solid. So yeah, that's Bad Boys: Ride or Die. Another John Cena comedy now. Vacation Friends. Absolute blast. This one, really, really enjoyed it again. Sort of follows this this couple who are on holiday. The guy wants to propose to his girlfriend, and everything just seems to be going wrong. The hotel room gets flooded. And John Cena and his partner are like, come stay with us. We'll have a blast together. And yeah, things just take off from there. Just gets absolutely outrageous. And it's just a fun comedy. Really, really enjoyed it. It's Vacation Friends. Next up, we have the remake of Hellraiser. And although I may not be the biggest Hellraiser fan, I like the first 3 movies. They're the only ones that I had seen up to this point. And I can take them for what they are. I can take or leave Hellraiser, and it's pretty much the same with this one. I could take or leave it. The story wasn't really there for me, but the way the movie looked, that was this movie's strength, in my opinion. It was just a fascinating movie to look at. That aspect of the movie really worked for me, but unfortunately the story was a little bit lacking. But yeah, that's the remake of Hellraiser. Next up, we have Becky. This was a good little violent movie, bit of like a sort of home invasion movie. It reminded me a little bit of Eden Lake, but it was a much more less mean version of that movie. It was brutal in parts. Again, another scene with a dog. I don't know why movies do this, but it's just absolutely awful. But yeah, it's good motivation, I guess, to when you really root for the good guy to get the bad guy. But yeah, it was a different role for Kevin James as well, sort of as the villain of this movie. But it was an interesting film, to say the least. It may not have been executed the best, but yeah, maybe on rewatch I'll probably like it a little bit more. So that's Becky. And next up we have Jodie Comer, Aston Butler, Tom Hardy in The Bike Riders. I did enjoy this one. I thought it was a pretty good drama. Really liked it. Loved the setting of this movie. Loved the way it was shot. Solid performances. Yeah, just overall pretty good. I could probably say it's quite a safe movie. I don't think it takes many risks in being new or groundbreaking. It's just a very, very safe movie, to say the least, with some good performances in it. So that's The Bike Riders. Next up, we have another stellar cast. Claire Foy, Jessie Buckley, Frances McDormand in Women Talking. Time of recording, I watched this one last night. Yeah, enjoyed it. Good drama, looks stunning. Great performances in it as well. So That's women talking. Next up we have Till. Yeah, again, another great story. This one, true story that I just enjoyed, following this woman who, her son, this tragedy happens to him, and it's about her sort of like enforcing and changing this law. Really, really enjoyed it. A good, solid movie, well done, well executed. So yeah, that's Till. Next up we have You Can Live Forever. This was a good coming-of-age romantic tale. I did enjoy it. A bit heavy on the religious tones in it, but overall, a good, solid movie. Good performances in it. Enjoyed it. So that's You Can Live Forever. This next one was kind of like it was kind of like a Tarantino movie. This one, with its dialogue and its action. The Harder They Fall. Yeah, superb looking Western. Absolutely loved it. Great action sequences in it as well. Performances, solid. Really enjoyed it. So that's The Harder They Fall. From Disney now, we have their live-action remake of The Lady and the Tramp. Yeah, I'm not the biggest Lady and the Tramp fan, if I'm honest. It's a good movie, the original, and this one was just, again, another cookie-cutter remake. The blueprints were already there for this film, so yeah, it's enjoyable. The CGI looks pretty good in it anyway. Next up, we have Sandra Bullock. This is one that I actually really enjoyed. Great cast. John Malkovich as well. Bird Box. I did really like this film. The ending didn't have as much of a hard-hitting payoff that I wanted it to, but the build-up, the start of the movie, it was there. It worked for me. It was great. It was just a better version of M. Night Shyamalan's The Happening. It just had atmosphere and tension to it, and like this vibe of what is going on. Really, really enjoyed it. So that's Bird Box. Unfortunately, I didn't enjoy this one much. It was just bang average, which was a shame because I'd heard so many people say some great things about it. I'm Thinking of Ending Things. Yeah, it wasn't for me, this one. It committed the worst sin the movie can make for me, and that is be boring. I just didn't gel with it at all. Probably caught it on an off night. Maybe I need to give it another rewatch, but it was just so bang average. Unfortunately, I was so disappointed. Yeah, maybe I need to give it another rewatch at some point. That's how I'm thinking of ending things. Unfortunate about that one. Enjoyed this next one from Ty West, concluding his X trilogy. We have Maxine. Yeah, it wasn't the brutal, hard-hitting slasher that I wanted it to be. Don't get me wrong, there are some brutal moments in this movie, particularly that alley scene. But yeah, it just wasn't this great big climactic slasher. But maybe that's my fault. Maybe that's my fault. But probably the same issue I have with Last Jedi. You can build up in your head what you want this movie to be and set these almost impossible to reach expectations. But you've just got to take the movie for what it is. You've just got to sit down, watch it, and take it for what it is. And just part of a learning curve with movies, I guess. But yeah, I did enjoy it on the whole. It was a solid 7 out of 10. The soundtrack, absolutely amazing. Mia Goth again, superb in this movie as Maxine Meek. Yeah, just enjoyed it. And is this the end? Who knows? Maybe we'll see more from Ty West and Mia Goth in the future. And they'll go back to this universe. So yeah, that's Maxine. Next up, great documentary, this one. Really, really enjoyed it. I'm glad to own it on Blu-ray. Val. So this is pretty much following Val Kilmer and all these sort of what's happened to him with his illness, his unfortunate illness as well, which has left him sort of like talking with a voice box now. And it's sort of going over like his past memories, all of these sort of short films that he kept and wanted to put in this movie. And it was just a really, really insightful documentary to an actor I really, really like. And yeah, just great to own this documentary now. So that's Val. Next up, we have the Borat sequel. Love the first movie. The Borat this one is more of the same. It is. It picks up. It concludes pretty much the same way the first one does. The same humor is there. The same type of humor. The over-the-top shock value humor. Yeah, it really worked for me, this one. So yeah, that's the sequel to Borat. Next up, we have The Five Bloods. I need to watch this one again. I remember watching it back when it got released, and I did really enjoy it. Great soundtrack, great premise, but just need to give it another rewatch. So that's The Five Bloods. Next up, Jeffrey Wright in American Fiction. Went to the cinema to see this. Really, really enjoyed it. It sort of follows Jeffrey Wright, who's this writer, and he says, you know what, I'm going to write like probably the most offensive book I can write and come up with. So he does, but people like really, really like the book. They think it's like a masterpiece, but he's just like, I didn't put any effort or talent into writing this. It's just daft over the top stuff that I've just put together, and people buy it, and he's just like playing them for fools in this movie. I really, really enjoyed it. Really good film, really good performances in it. Yeah, that's American Fiction. Next up, we have Disney's Pinocchio, Robert Zemeckis and Tom Hanks. A lot of people hate this one. I don't think, yeah, it's got its problems. It definitely does, in my opinion. It's not great. It's got its issues, but I do like the look of the movie. There is some enjoyment there. I loved the design of Monstro at the end of it. I just thought that looked absolutely fantastic. You can definitely tell when you get to Pleasure Island in this movie that things are different to the original. All the kids are like smoking cigars and drinking and doing what they want. It's played down in this one, definitely, but yeah, the Guillermo del Toro one I thought was a much better movie, much more different and creative take on the tale. But yeah, I'm still glad to own this one. I'll probably rewatch it again at some point. So that's Pinocchio. Next up, really good movie, this one. I really enjoyed it. Underrated. Anthony Hopkins, Jonathan Pryce in Two Popes. So this was, I believe, this captures the sort of the abdication of Benedict XVI and the new reign of, I believe, Pope Francis I and what was going on. Really good, solid performances in it. Really, really enjoyed it. Solid movie. Top-notch acting by two great veterans of the craft. Absolutely loved it. So that's The Two Popes. Great performance from Rebecca Ferguson in this next one. Pieces of a Woman, also starring Shia LaBeouf. Really, really enjoyed this film. I need to give this one a rewatch because, again, I haven't seen it since it came out. But I just remember her performance in this movie being absolutely stellar. Really enjoyed it. So that's Pieces of a Woman. And next up with Jake Gyllenhaal, we have The Guilty. So from what I remember, I do remember watching it. It's just about him who's sort of like a 911 operator who dispatches like the emergency services. But something's going up with this one particular call he gets. Yeah, probably need to give this one a rewatch again, but I remember liking it from what I saw. So yeah, that's The Guilty. So next up are pretty much the movies that I've purchased but I haven't actually had a chance to watch yet. So the first one is, again, another Sony Marvel movie that I've heard nothing but horrible things about. Jared Leto in Morbius. Thought I'd pick this one up and give it a go, but I haven't seen it yet. So that's Morbius. Next up was a movie that I'm going to be watching on a watch-along with Keith and Nige again at some point. Very, very kindly sent to me by Keith. And it is The Autopsy of Jane Doe. So I'm really looking forward to delving into this one when we get around to watching it. So that's The Autopsy of Jane Doe. Next up, another horror film I've picked up from the 80s. Haven't seen it. Jamie Lee Curtis, Prom Night. I know this is like a horror staple, but yeah, looking forward to checking this one out. Haven't seen it yet. So that's Prom Night. I had to get this one based off the cast, but again, I haven't seen it. Robert De Niro, Al Pacino in Righteous Kill. Looking forward to this one. Again, with such powerhouse actors, I know I probably can't go wrong, but I know the movie hasn't had the best of reviews, so a bit apprehensive about it, but we'll take it for what it is. Righteous Kill. Next up, I believe this is a remake. I haven't seen the original House on Haunted Hill. Again, I probably need to dig out the original as well, but looking forward to checking this one out. I'm not too sure if it's any good or not. I haven't looked too much into it. So that's House on Haunted Hill. From the Conjuring universe with this one, I've only ever seen the first 3 Conjuring movies. Annabelle, nice slipcover, but yeah, haven't seen this one yet. It's Annabelle. A couple of Arrow titles next. So the first one we have is The Mutilator. Fun slasher, I believe. So yeah, looking forward to watching that one. And following that up, we have The Initiation as well. So I believe this one takes place in a mall. Yeah, haven't seen it. Looking forward to it. Next up, we've got a box set that I believe is out of print now. Mine came in absolutely pristine condition. Absolutely love it. No creases in it, no damages. The booklet, absolutely sublime. It's just, I've not heard the greatest things about these movies. It is the George A. Romero box set between Night and Dawn. So, yeah, I've seen The Crazies before. I wasn't the biggest fan of it. It might be the worst Romero film I've seen. Oh no, that might go to Diary of the Dead. I'm not so sure. But that movie just didn't work for me at all. The other 2 I haven't seen, but I wanted to get this for the Arrow collection, and maybe The Crazies on rewatch might work better for me. Really enjoyed the remake. The remake's really good in my opinion, really solid. But the original just, oh man, it knocked me sick watching it. I don't know what it was. Watching that movie made me feel ill. And it wasn't anything in the movie, it was just the way it was shot. I don't know, it just made me feel nauseous. But I'll give it another go, see what it's like on Blu-ray, and see what the other 2 movies are like as well. So we've got There's Always Vanilla, which I think is also called Affair, and Season of the Witch as well. Not to be confused with Halloween 3. But yeah, that's the Between Night and Dawn George Romero set. And I think he also did, I think Martin came out Between Night and Dawn as well. Not included in this box set, but Second Sight, I've got you covered on that one. Next up as well, I picked this one up because of the cast. Meryl Streep, Reese Witherspoon, Jake Gyllenhaal, Alan Arkin. Haven't seen it yet though. That is Rendition. Next up, this is kind of one of these young adult movies that were coming out, you know, with Twilight and Divergent. Picked up The Maze Runner. It was like less than £2, so I thought I'd give that one a go. Next one's got a pretty good cast. Jason Statham, Clive Owen, Robert De Niro. Haven't seen it yet. Killer Elite. Looking forward to it. It looks like a decent little action film. Again, this one kind of looks like a political thriller with a decent cast. Ewan McGregor, Stellan Skarsgård. Our Kind of Traitor. Came with a nice slipcover. Yeah, kind of looking forward to checking that one out. Next one, we've got Toni Collette, Drew Barrymore, Miss You Already. Don't know anything about it, but gonna give it a go. This next one again, Ash, popcorn horror, talking about this one. Probably not going to watch this one for another couple of months because it is Christmas themed, and that is The Night Before. Yeah, if it's a good comedy, I'm looking forward to it, so that's The Night Before. This next one I picked up because I watched Blu-ray Movies, and he said this was actually a really good cracking film. And I saw it in HMV when I was out, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna pick it up, give it a go. Haven't got it yet though. Mads Mikkelsen in The Promised Land. Don't know anything about this. This is a complete blind buy, so gonna check this one out eventually. So that's The Promised Land. Michael Bay movie next. Can be hit and miss for me. Mark Wahlberg, Dwayne Johnson, Pain and Gain. Never seen it, don't know what it's about, so yeah, that's Pain and Gain. Johnny Depp next in Transcendence. Heard mixed things about this one. Morgan Freeman, cast looks pretty decent. Maybe it's an above average movie. I'll soon find out, so That's Transcendence. Roland Emmerich next. Haven't heard the greatest things about this one, but I thought I'd give it a go. 10,000 BC. I don't know why, but I always get this confused with Apocalypto. But yeah, I'll give this one a go anyway. So that's 10,000 BC. Next up, we have another great cast. Woody Harrelson, Forrest Whitaker, Casey Affleck, Christian Bale. Out of the Furnace. Yeah, don't know much about this one. Gonna give it a go, see what it's about. So that's Out of the Furnace. Next up, haven't heard the greatest things about this one, but again, I couldn't say no to that cast. Jack Nicholson, Paul Rudd, Reese Witherspoon, Owen Wilson. How do you know? Maybe it's one of these bad rom-coms. Yeah, possibly, but only one way to find out. Johnny Depp now, Angelina Jolie, another dirt cheap Blu-ray that I picked up off eBay, The Tourist. I haven't heard amazing things, but yeah, I'll give it a go. So that's The Tourist. Clive Owen next, and Morgan Freeman in Last Nights. I picked this up pretty much just because of the actors. Don't know anything about this film, hadn't even heard of it. But yeah, it looked interesting. It was on a deal on eBay, so but yeah, picked that up. Last Nights. Another horror film now, I believe. Don't know anything about this one. Lazarus Effect. Had an alright score on IMDb, I think, for a horror film, so I was like, yeah, I'll check that out. The Lazarus Effect. Adrian Brody next in this one. Another Forrest Whitaker as well. It kind of looks like a prison movie. But yeah, I'll take it for what it is. The Experiment. Don't know anything about this one. Not seen it yet. Looking forward to it though. So that's The Experiment. Another Johnny Depp film now. Animation. This did come out on 4K, but the Blu-ray was like £2 off eBay. So I couldn't really say no to it. And the 4K is like 25 quid. And I hadn't seen it, so I wasn't going to take that much of a gamble on it. But it is Johnny Depp in Rango. I've heard this is pretty good. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, that's all I can really say about it. That's Rango. And next up, final Blu-ray for this video before we get into the 4Ks is movie, great cast. The late Ray Liotta, Harrison Ford, Ashley Judd, crossing over. Again, haven't seen it, don't know much about it. I didn't even realise it was an 18. Like, that's probably intrigued me even more with what could be going on in this film. Yeah, just don't know much about it at all, if that. So that's crossing over. So coming up next, we'll be getting into the 4Ks. So not many 4K titles this month. I think it's about 6 altogether. The first one we've got is, again, similar to Imaginary. This was another movie I was warned about. Stay clear of it. It is terrible. And yeah, it's not great. It's not great. It really isn't. It really isn't. And that's me probably putting it politely. But again, I didn't hate this movie. I don't know what it was. It's not a good film. Night Swim. The 4K looks nice. Comes with a nice slipcover. And that's about all the positives I can say. Well, yeah, it is what it is. I didn't hate it though. Didn't hate it. Didn't love it. Didn't hate it. It is what it is. That's Night Swim. This next one, I've heard this is kind of like an underrated comedy, but I picked it up on 4K. I haven't watched it yet. A bit apprehensive because Kristen Wiig's in this movie and I'm not her biggest fan either. But I'll give it a go. I'll see what it's like. Barb and Star go to visit Delmar. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to checking it. It looks like a fun time. I know you should never judge a book by its cover, but it looks colourful. It looks fun. It looks like it could be a good time. So I'll give this one a go. Next up, we have one of the best films of this year, in my opinion. I absolutely love this. Went to the cinema to see it. It was stellar. And I'm really, really looking forward to checking this out on 4K. Anya Taylor-Joy, Chris Hemsworth in George Miller's Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Loved this film at the cinema. I thought it was superb. Really, really enjoyed it. The only thing missing from it was probably Mad Max. George Miller just knocked it out of the park with this from a technical aspect. The movie looks stellar, absolutely gorgeous, so colourful, so vibrant. Yeah, really looking forward to checking this out in 4K. So that's Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Next up, we have an upgrade from Blu-ray for me. One of the best action movies from the early 90s, in my opinion. Absolutely love it. Keanu Reeves, Patrick Swayze, Point Break. Love this film. Love it. The ex-presidents, the surfing, the FBI, all of it blended together. Superb action film. Love it. Gary Busey, John C. McGinley, supporting cast. Can't go wrong. Point Break. And next up from Criterion, we have Tom Cruise in Risky Business. I'm hit and miss with this film, to be honest. I do enjoy it. I haven't seen it since DVD. I watched it on DVD a couple of years ago. It's not one I rewatch a hell of a lot. I may have seen it 2 or 3 times altogether, but I'll give it a go on 4K, see what it's like. Great soundtrack as well, so that's Risky Business. And the last 4K that we have this month is from Paramount. I really enjoy this film. I have a blast with it. It's, again, one of these great teen comedies from the late 90s. Matthew Broderick, Reese Witherspoon in Election. What a fun film this is. Really, really enjoy it. Yeah, just have a great time at this one. Matthew Broderick's great as this teacher who just can't really stand this teacher's pet, played by Reese Witherspoon, who's like running for some sort of like school presidency, I think, in the movie. We didn't really have that over here in the UK, but yeah, it's fun. I enjoy it. I have a great time with this one. So that's Election. So yeah, those are all of the Blu-rays and 4Ks that I've picked up over these last weeks or so in this video. If you've made it to the end of this video, fair play to you. Thanks for sticking around. I know this was going to be a long video, but yeah, I don't know when I'll be back with YouTube, but I thought I'd just do this as sort of something to sort of put together, as I think I've definitely accumulated enough movies to talk about here, and just thought I'd put this video out. So yeah, I'll see you in the next one. I can't say for sure when that will be, but yeah, thanks for your support again, guys. It really, really does I really do appreciate it. And yeah, I'll just say, take care of yourselves, stay safe, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.